Hello and welcome to the SWIB Podcast, where members of the Wisconsin retirement system can turn for timely information on the investments that help fund the state's pension system. I'm Chris Preisler, Communications Specialist for the State of Wisconsin Investment Board, or SWIB.
And I'm Dusty Weiss, producer of the podcast.
For decades, SWIB has used the best tools available to generate solid returns and provide stable retirement income for its members. While the tools may have changed over the decades, the mission certainly has not. But now, with the advent of artificial intelligence and large language models, the information landscape is changing faster than ever before, and we will not allow the members of the WRS to be left behind.
In this episode of the SWIB Podcast, we're going to look at how SWIB is using AI to augment their ability to process information, identify risks, and make decisions, all with an eye to good governance, ethics, and transparency. This is part 2 in our 2-part series about AI, so don't forget to check out episode 35 for a grounding in what these tools are, how they work, and what it means for society in general.
The SWIB Podcast is a regular opportunity for you to learn more about the people and funds that comprise the Wisconsin retirement system. Please make sure to subscribe in your favorite podcast app so you don't miss an episode. Share this podcast with your fellow WRS members and leave a review on Apple Podcasts so it's easier for other members to find this show.
Today, we welcome back to the SWIB Podcast Cefe Quesada, SWIB's Chief Technology Officer, and Senior Portfolio Manager Salah Khalaf. And Cefe and Salah, when last we spoke, you kind of set the stage for us a little bit, talking about what is artificial intelligence, what does it mean to society in a broader context, and what are some of the things that we need to be aware of as we enter this new era. But you hinted in that conversation about some of the ways that you are building AI tools to assist SWIB in its mission of serving and providing for the retirements of hundreds of thousands of retirees in the state of Wisconsin. So welcome back to the podcast. We're glad to see you again.
Good to be here. Thank you for having us.
So guys, can you talk a little bit more, maybe give us a better idea of how SWIB is using AI? What does that mean? And how is it different than the public's perception of AI?
I can kick this off. We've done a few different go-arounds at this point with AI. The first one is we started with the large language model. We have a ton of documents from the private market side that we receive. We were trying to find a way to synthesize those documents and be able to traverse them a lot quicker to be able to extract the summary or the data points that we would like to get to. And we started to do that, and we found a few edge cases. We've worked through it. And now in our last episode, I kind of highlighted one of the positive features of the large language model that has worked really well and aided the team in getting to that stage a lot faster. A couple of other instances that we've used AI for, we have a little over 1,000 funds or investments that we have in the private market space. A couple of use cases that popped up is that we needed to extract some data from each one of the managers, whether it was like an address or a specific data point. And so we used our AI capabilities and our learnings to extract that data. We built it in-house, used our own tools so that it doesn't go outside of SWIB and our data doesn't get lost outside of the network. And we still had a human in the loop to validate those data points. What that did is it really took away a project that would have taken weeks of having 2 or 3 analysts digging through all of those documents and extracting those data points to a day. And then we handed it over to those analysts, and they spent a couple days from a human in the loop perspective validating that data. And the beauty of that is we hit about a 99% hit rate. And what that did is it gave us the opportunity to move on to the next use case. So now we went from extracting one specific address to extracting 10 specific profiles. And when we did that, we again experienced a 99% hit rate on the extraction, kept the human in the loop, and we were able to do that.
So what I'm hearing from you, Salah, is that, and it bears repeating regularly, that SWIB is regularly mentioned as being one of the best managed pension funds in the world. And you're not reinventing the wheel here. It's not like we're using AI to go out and make decisions to manage these pension funds. Instead, what you're doing is augmenting the work that's already being done by SWIB's incredible staff vis-a-vis data management and research, and essentially using that to make a great team even better.
Yeah, I mean, I think, our approach has been one that certainly kind of embraces AI, and we've been aggressive in two ways, but also, and you hear it in every one of Salah's examples, right? Doing so in a safe, measured way, right?
Guardrails.
Testing and guardrails, a human in the loop has been at the forefront of every example of deploying an OpenAI-ish or a ChatGPT-ish or a large language model solution. Our approach has been kind of twofold. Number one, we wanted to put AI in the hands of SWIB staff as quickly as possible because we knew kind of this wave was coming, right? Salah and his team in particular, they're working in the private side, venture side, right? So they get exposure to what some of the most forward-looking organizations are doing with regard to AI. And so it was kind of a natural fit. We put Enterprise GPT and Copilot as quickly as we could in the hands of SWIB staff, and we deployed that in the middle part of 2025. Let's just start to normalize this technology, socialize this technology within the ecosystem of SWIB. Let's train people and get them accustomed to what the responsibility is and what proper and good use of these tools are. And Salah's alluded to a lot of these use cases, right? Document ingestion and processing, search, research, and then probably a couple of what I would call maybe forward-looking areas, right, that we're not really talking about that are, let's call it SWIB secret sauce, that I think I'm very excited about. While we've gotten some good productivity use case out of this for sure, a lot of this has just been Salah and the team kind of learning, this is what the tools are good at. This is where SWIB needs to step in. This is where we might need to build some custom solutions. And that has been, I think, a nice kind of recipe for success this year.
So how does that work? You're either creating a tool, an AI tool for staff to use, or there's, I want to say like off the shelf type of stuff like Chat GPT or Copilot. How are you rolling that out to staff? And then what kind of safeguards do you put in place so that staff isn't just going off on their own? How do you go about doing that with staff? And can staff just come to you guys and say, hey, this is what we need for a tool? How does that work?
So generally SWIB's stance, right, is that we have an AI policy. And I would say we were kind of ahead of the game relative to US pensions early on, establishing a very clear AI policy, what was allowed, what was not allowed. We also had technology in place to make sure that we were blocking AI tools that didn't fall within that policy. We continue to do that today, right? We're always evaluating tools. Someone certainly can come to us as a leadership team and as a technology organization and ask, hey, here's a tool that I would like to use. We have a process to vet the architecture, to review it, to make sure it's fit for purpose, and then run that by compliance and legal to ensure that that tool, if it passes technical muster, also passes legal and compliance muster. So we are very innovative, I think, in everything that we're doing in this space. That said, from the start, we had a very clear partnership with the legal team and the compliance team on our approach.
One of the things I love about working at SWIB is the smart and talented people that work at SWIB. And our compliance legal team was ahead of the game. I think to Ceph's point, every employee, prior to us even having these AI tools, everybody had a ethics and AI guide, and you had to attest to the fact that you were living up to those standards and those expectations. And that's very important because as a public pension plan, we're trying to safeguard our data. We're trying to make sure that the models are not being trained on our data. There's a lot of different components that you have to make sure that you're not opening up the door for. And then Ceph met with every single division and did a training. Now, how often do you get the CTO of the company that takes that responsibility and is the one that does every single one of those lessons? And that's what Ceph did. Ceph met with each division, walked them through how to use it in a productive way and in a safe way. The second thing that I really want to touch on is, how do people come to you guys? How do they ask? How anything? When people have ideas or their use cases or things that they want, they bring those to my attention. And then I work with Ceph and others within the agency. We start to think about, can we do this? Is this possible? Is it within the framework? Is it within the guidance? And if it is, then we can start to scope it out and figure out how to actually solve for those solutions. The other thing that I will say is, when it came to custom solutions, that's where we really ensure that that's not rolled out to the entire agency. There's a lot of testing, a lot of thought that goes into that. We're making sure that the model isn't hallucinating. We're making sure that the output is correct. And then we gradually open it up to more users. And as we open it up to more users, we are in a feedback loop, ensuring that the edge cases, we're not missing them. That if somebody finds it, that we're kind of figuring those out, we're tackling those in real time, and then we're giving broader and broader rollouts. One of our principles at SWIB is collaboration, and everybody lives up to that. And I think AI was a very, very, very important way of actually really showing how we delivered on that principle.
Yeah, just to build on what Salah said, anytime you're creating a custom solution at SWIB, you have to submit that for review. Legal and compliance actually has to sign off on it. And as Salah said, you then have to attest quarterly to proper usage of that tool within the SWIB environment, right? So I think that's that kind of two-pronged approach, right? Where we're moving fast, we are trying to innovate, but at the same time, making sure that you have good partnership to ensure those guardrails are in place.
An awful lot of legwork, it sounds like, Cefe and Salah, in making sure that everything has been put together in a way that preserves the integrity of SWIB and its data, and the time that you've spent training people up and sort of showing them where the door is. But the next question then is, have they walked through that door? Is the staff at SWIB embracing these new tools? Are they intimidated? How have they reacted?
It's been great. I think people are embracing it. The amount of questions that I receive has been significant. It's been really nice to see. Our use cases have gone up. And earlier in the podcast, I had alluded to a couple of examples that I wanted to wait until we kind of got to this subject in particular. The rollout of ChatGPT Enterprise in the agency has really shown me that, how employees are embracing it and they're unlocking it. And what I mean by that is, by the fact that we have an enterprise license to ChatGPT, it allows people to build their own GPTs. So if there's something that you are always doing, if you're writing a memo or you're writing a specific document, or there's something that you analyze on a regular basis or you're calculating, you could build a GPT within your own environment to start to kind of automate some of the mundane components of that. And the amount of ones that I have seen within my division has been pretty impressive. And so it's been pretty clear that people are embracing it. There's a lot of questions that we get. People don't want to be left behind. It is definitely a topic that everybody hears, everybody sees, and everybody wants to embrace and be a part of.
And we actually have the usage statistics for some of these tools, right? When you look at our usage on Enterprise GPT, roughly 2/3 of the organization is embracing the tool almost on a daily basis, right? And just, it is part of their productivity tool suite today and will be for the foreseeable future. Part of this depends on the role as well. Some roles lend themselves to adopting these tools more aggressively than other roles. I'll share a quick example. We have a person on our team, Connor, who's a data analyst, and he works really closely actually with Salah and his team. Connor's not a computer scientist. He's not a software engineer, but he has jumped right into the deep end with adoption of these tools, where he is creating tools now on behalf of kind of data exchange with some of our external managers that a year ago, 2 years ago, it would have been a team of engineers doing this work. And now Connor's able to do this work. And not only doing what would traditionally be considered like software engineering or data engineering work, he's also engineering data pipelines that would be self-corrective with AI. So he's not using AI just to help build these tools that 2 years ago he couldn't have done. Also leveraging these tools to be kind of real-time self-correcting. So as new data comes in, the pipelines themselves are smart enough to know, hey, I have an error. Here's how you can correct this error in the future with this manager or a new manager, right? So we're seeing in certain roles within SWIB, heavy adoption that is quite literally in real time, almost shifting how we think about what a role is, right? And what they're capable of doing.
So a lot of what we've been discussing is the behind the scenes look at how SWIB is using AI, but I want to bring it back to how AI can help us better serve the participants of the WRS. What are some of the promising ways that AI can help SWIB deliver on its mission for the participants of the WRS?
When you think about it holistically, where it really benefits the WRS is the level of efficiency gains that SWIB across the agency is able to leverage with AI. And when you're more efficient, it allows you to continue to focus on the most important subject, which is to make sure that the pension is operating at the level it's supposed to continue to deliver the returns that our retirees expect, to ensure that they have a pension that continues to grow and the dividend continues to pay out at the level that it's supposed to and it's designed to. And those efficiencies allow us to focus on searching for better investments and focusing on investment opportunities. And maybe it caters away to some of the more mundane tasks that you have to do. And that, to me, is the key component of the benefit to the WRS.
Just to build off that, right? I think the thing that AI clearly does in this space is it makes us more efficient. That allows, from an investment standpoint, more time and more efficient ideation, creates more time and efficient innovation. It creates more time and efficiency in how we do research. One of the tools that came in our enterprise GPT package was a tool called deep learning. If you talk to the research side of the house, they're very excited about that. It is like having 1,000 graduate students at your disposal to make you more effective as an organization. Now, the challenge with that is you still have to manage the 1,000 graduate students, right? that you've effectively brought in. That presents its own unique challenges in and of itself. But ultimately, we are freed up and have more resource to more effectively increase investment return, right? That is the goal of what we're trying to do. The other bit there too is, in the future, it does allow us to look and manage risk potentially more effectively. Again, there is another side of the coin there. AI also increases risk. One of the challenges that is out there certainly is bad actors leveraging AI to target organizations like a SWIB. And AI does make the ability of bad actors to leverage kind of known exploits and tools, it makes them more effective. And so on the counter to that, we're looking to leverage AI to reduce risk and defend, right, our systems from attack as well. So it feels a little bit like an arms race, but we like to think that the ability in that arms race to leverage these tools internally to increase and improve the investment proposition that SWIB brings to the table as an organization is net positive for SWIB as a whole and for the WRS as a whole.
So as you guys look at these tools and they're rolled out to staff, when we're bringing new people onto SWIB, does it change the way we look for employees?
I think so, for sure. Even today, I would say it's already changed how we think about the roles that we're hiring for, and the skill sets that we're looking for have drastically changed.
Yeah, it's a natural evolution. I think that overall, it just shifts the components, right? A year ago, you might have needed to hire X to do Y. Today, you're still hiring X, but you're not really hiring them to do Y. You're hiring them to do Z. And to do Z, they need to have like a skill set or a different set of tools in order to be able to do that. And I think that's the key evolution of what AI is doing. It's not generally reducing the need for people. It's just maybe orienting them into a new direction.
Have the backgrounds, the education of applicants, has it kept up with the technology? You're able to find the people with the skill set. I'm guessing there's even, like on the investment side, there are people that want to work at SWIB that they want to know that we're using AI, right? I mean, that's got to be something too that you're looking at.
One of the things that I do quite a bit throughout the course of the year is I do participate on a lot of interview panels, not just within my division, but across divisions at SWIB. And I could tell you that that is a question that a lot of candidates are asking is, how is SWIB using AI? What type of tools will be at my disposal? How will I be able to use that? So I think candidates are also aware of this and they're looking for it. Your prior question, Chris, has it kept up? I think what you're starting to see, and I think it's just what's taken place in the market set and with education, is I think you're going to start to see more AI-centric degrees and focuses or specifications, and then you're going to start to see that pool start to roll into the marketplace and candidates having that background. And I think that's going to become very important as we continue to roll out these types of initiatives and as the space just continues to evolve.
We know our local university, UW-Madison, has just launched an AI hub as an example. And so they are trying to figure out, how do we imbue into all of our schools, whether it's the marketing department or the computer science department, the economics department. They are trying to figure out, how do we kind of lace AI into these educational tracks. And so I think we also are looking for fluency, a track record, right, of being able to smartly adopt and adjust the role that you have today to work in that kind of ecosystem. I think increasingly that's going to be something that we're looking for in the future.
Cefe, you had mentioned the University of Wisconsin launching an AI hub, and certainly that's one organization that I know that SWIB has worked alongside in the past on certain initiatives. But with the rollout of new technology comes these new opportunities for partnership, particularly sometimes unexpected partnerships. Are there any potential partnerships that SWIB is exploring to leverage this technology?
Yeah, so we actually late last year, and Salah actually was a great partner here, along with being the person that all the divisions always try to kind of bring along for the interview panel vetting ride. I also kind of roped him in to a process last year that we ran with Microsoft, where Microsoft came in to SWIB late last year. We ran a couple of day workshop where we had just a massive ideation session with Microsoft, and we kind of jointly vetted all the potential AI solutions within SWIB and then put them on a map relative to speed of execution, alignment with being a good solution for a generative AI or large language model solution that Microsoft could support. And that really helped to kind of lay the groundwork for the roadmap that we've been following in 2025. And that's been a really fruitful partnership starting last year all the way into Q4 this year.
So as you turn your eyes to the future, then obviously it's tough to say where all of this technology is going to go in the future. Things have been developing pretty quickly here for a while now. But how do you see AI changing the way that public pension funds operate 5 to 10 years from now?
The quippy kind of answer would be like, it's impossible to tell given where we are today. It is kind of changing so fast. It's hard to tell. I think you're seeing everyone from Goldman Sachs to Amazon to JP Morgan, who recently announced their intention to be the first AI forward only bank in the space. They're all assuming the impact of AI, right? And a lot of these organizations have said they're just going to remain headcount flat for the next number of years because they do expect the impact to this to be real. I think the contrary to that is, MIT just came out with a recent study. They highlighted roughly $30 to $40 billion in enterprise investment over the last couple of years, and 95% of that investment didn't result in actual P&L improvement, but they did see significant individual productivity improvement. And so whether or not the big investments pay off, I think all organizations are seeing certainly individual productivity is going to be hugely impacted. And that long-term is going to have an impact on SWIB. It'll have an impact on, I think, just about every organization, every industry. In my space in particular, historically, you think about solutioning technology, right? And you're writing kind of static code to solution a particular problem and cover all the use cases. That's just not how it's going to work in the future. It's going to be much more dynamic. So we're all, frankly, just trying to reorient ourselves to that new reality, both with our partners and how they're going to operate or how they're going to expect us to operate in the future, and then internally too.
I'm going to take a little bit of a cop-out approach. I think the 5 to 10 years, we don't know what the new landscape of AI will be. Do I think it will be transformative? Yes. Will it increase productivity? Yes. Will it increase efficiency? Yes. Today, from the alpha generation, it's helping us because you could focus your eyes specifically more on investments, not the AI doing the alpha generation. 5 to 10 years, AI might have made a transformative approach to that now you might be using it to help you from an alpha generation perspective as well. Do I think we'll get there? I don't know, but that is the key. I don't know. The groundwork we are laying today is going to be very impactful in 5 to 10 years, but to what magnitude and how, I couldn't tell you.
So what does success look like at SWIB for the use of AI over the next 5 to 10 years?
I like to think about it as we continue to be innovative and we continue to be early adopters. I don't want to be the earliest adopter. There's a lot of pain and a lot of cost to doing that. But being an early adopter, continuing to push ourselves forward, really embracing it and understanding that there could be failure as well, right? We might try an AI solution and not every single one may work. But just because one doesn't work doesn't mean that the whole use case or the whole notion of AI is not usable. And I think for me, the way I would judge it is that if we continue to evolve and use AI and implement AI and continue to really drive that efficiency, I think we have been very successful at doing that.
Great answer. I would probably look back to a previous question that you asked, and the answer that I gave was we wanted 2025 between myself and Salah and the organization to ensure that we learned something in 2025. We knew this wasn't a baked kind of environment, right? So the goal this year was to get some benefit for sure, see some real efficiency impact, but ultimately we wanted to start the journey and ensure that we are on the path to being a learning organization. I think we're in a massive time of disruption, as you can tell by some of our answers. We certainly don't know where the puck is going, so to speak, but we know for a learning organization, we can make our way through that disruption. I think the other thing for us too, while being a learning organization is certainly the goal, and that's what success looks like, we get some efficiency along the way even better. But also, I think what we want to do as an organization is find places where friction still matters and is of value. Hiring could be a space like that, right? There's going to be these spaces where kind of that human friction, I think ideation, investment decision-making, right, at the fundamental level, areas where you're trying to give decision-making intelligence, that might be the realm of AI. But we want to find these places where human value and human kind of friction and interaction is still valuable and make sure we're investing there as well. Those interactions, those relationships, those processes won't go anywhere. And there's a bit of a moat around those with AI. We want to try to be ahead of the curve and find where those places are and invest with our people in those spaces too.
Well, Cefe and Salah, this has been a tremendous discussion, very interesting, a lot of good information about how SWIB is using AI. And I feel like we just have really just scratched the surface, and it's something that we're going to keep our eye on and definitely talk more about in the future. So thank you so much for taking the time on the SWIB podcast.
Thank you, Dusty and Chris. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, Salah, always a pleasure. Dusty and Chris, again, appreciate the time and the patience of sitting around for probably an hour longer than you expected.
And thank you to all our listeners for checking out this episode of the SWIB Podcast.
The SWIB Podcast is brought to you by the State of Wisconsin Investment Board, with editing by Matt Covarrubias and produced by PodCamp Media. Branded podcast production for business is podcampmedia.com.
Thanks again for listening. I'm Chris Preisler.
And I'm Dusty Weiss.